sweet liberty! No!
Hi, everyone, and welcome to High Scores, High Stakes Game of the Month Club for March. And yes, I am very, very aware that it is May.
There could not be a man more aware.
No, absolutely not.
Beautiful.
I am your host, as always, Mr. Luvva Luvva, and with me is my co-host.
Tomahawk here. Good to be back. We've had a bit of a lapse in concentration getting Game of the Month out, but we never technically specified what month it'd come out. But
That's a fantastic disclaimer.
No, all we said was we would play these games in the designated month. We said nothing about releasing the episode at the end of said month. That was the initial plan, but like everything, plans often go awry, and they have very much gone awry
Mice
with
and men,
this
baby.
one. With this one. Now it means we're going to have to work extra hard to get caught up with ourselves. The voice you're also hearing is not one of my regular co-hosts, but he is indeed an alumni of High Scores, High Stakes. It is, of course, friend of the pod, your friend of mine, Blanedawg. How are you, Blanedawg, mate?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me back on. Happy to be here. Happy to be back with a vengeance. Talk about.
good.
I was going to give the game away, but to talk about a game that I'm really passionate about.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So, Game of the Month Club, what is it? We have selected games that we're going to play every month, and with them, we will review them in these deep dive episodes. This is Game of the Month for March, and it is Helldivers 2.
Every time you highlight the fact that it's Game of the Month from March, and it just turned another month today, it just gets funnier. It makes I'm not even really on this podcast, but it even makes me sound disorganized.
You're disorganized by proxy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. Well, you're here now. You're associated with the disorganization, so you knew this before you came on. So it's your own fault.
True.
You don't want to blame but yourself.
This,
And
I mean, I only started playing it like 3 weeks ago. To be fair,
Good.
So it's fresh. That's all. It's fresh in the
Quite
mind. You
fresh.
have plenty to talk about then.
Yes. So Helldivers 2, what is it? What is it? So Helldivers 2 is obviously the sequel to Helldivers. Helldivers was released on the 3rd of March 2015 on the PlayStation 4. It was a hardcore 4-player co-op, both local and online. Top-down shooter, twin-stick shooter from Arrowhead Studios. It obviously had a big emphasis on teamwork, cooperation with your friends, and it was incredibly, incredibly difficult. Every map was a planet. Every planet had 2 enemy types on it, bugs and robots. And it sold moderately well. I think it sold like 3 million lifetime sales, which is
Okay.
okay for a budget title on
Hmm.
a somewhat new console in 2015 PlayStation 4. The sequel to it was announced last year, the summer.
We covered it in one of our old side quests. It was the summer, not state of play. What are they had a different name for it then.
The summer showcase.
Oh,
showcase.
Summer Games Showcase, is that it? Summer Game
Exactly
Fest, something
that,
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, it
But
was
not E3.
it was announced in Sony's Summer Showcase 2022, and everyone was like, "Really, a sequel to Helldivers, that top-down shooter game that sold okay and reviewed really, really well." In fairness, the reviews for it were crazy. I think it's sitting like 86 or 87 on Metacritic at the minute, the original one.
Okay.
So it was really well received by critics. The general public seemed to ignore it, mostly speaking. I own it. I've played it for about maybe 3 hours. I know Sherry and I know Cardinal in particular loved the
They were
original
big fans
Helldivers.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know in our games to look forward to in 2024, one of Cardinal's picks was this game. But I don't think anyone, including Sony and Arrowhead Studios, could foresee what was about to happen on the on the 8th of February 2024 when this game dropped. It sold gangbusters and it became a phenomenon, I think is the best way to
Yeah,
describe it.
absolutely changed the game on in every account. I still remember watching that showcase, and It was the trailer when the game boots up and it gives you that Super Earth broadcast message.
Mhm.
That was the trailer. That was the announcement for Helldivers 2. It was no gameplay. It was just that VT of be a patriot, be democratic, go see new life forms, be a Helldiver. And that was really all we had to go on
Yes.
for a year, for like a year and a half.
Yep, for a brave long time. Yeah, I remember watching that trailer, and I did vaguely remember the original Helldivers, but I remember messaging Sherry and going, "Here, did the original Helldivers have that Starship Troopers sort of vibe going on, or is this something new?" And he's like, "No, no, no. I remember the original Helldivers being really, really, really funny." So apparently it's always had it. I don't really remember the original Helldivers that much. I know um, Craig Miller over on Kind of Funny Games absolutely adored the first one. Still
Yeah.
talks about the first one. Sherry loved it. Cardinal loved it. But yeah, I don't think anyone could foresee exactly what was about to happen. Right now, date of record, this is what, the 1st of May 2024, which means Helldivers has not yet been out for 3 months. The last sales figures released by Sony and Arrowhead was in late March. I think it was March 23rd. And by that stage of the game, Helldivers had sold 8.2 million copies, which
Incredible.
is nearly treble what the original did. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone is playing it. It is Sony's most profitable game of the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 era. It is
Damn.
breaking records left and right, and I don't think anyone's seen it coming. I know I certainly didn't. But anyway,
Mm.
Helldivers 2, what is it? It is not a top down shooter anymore. It is a third person over the shoulder shooter. It is still 4-player co op. They have dropped the local co op, it is online only.
Mhm.
And it is Sony's first games as a service. You might remember a few years ago, Sony announced that they were releasing 10 games as a service. I think as of time
Suicide
of
Squad doesn't count, no?
Suicide Squad is not Sony first party, mate.
Ah, you got me there.
I think the only other two that have been announced is Jade Redmond's game, which I think is called Fur Games, which is that it looks like a COD shooter with money and like a fairground type thing.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And then Bungie's one, Concord. I think they're the only
With
three
no
that
sign of
have.
that as well, yeah.
No, I think they're the only three that's been announced. Rumors are one of the other two will be out sometime this year. But we've seen nothing on either of them. It wouldn't surprise me if we see neither of them this year. But we have Helldivers 2, and it is still a budget title, but it's no longer $17.99. It is $34.99 for the base, $39.99 for the one that comes with the premium war bond. Before we start talking about the game, we've all played it. Various levels of playing it. I think I've put in about 15, 16 hours. Tomahawk, I
Mm.
know you're probably closer to 30-ish.
I'm probably more towards the 55 now.
Love it. And Blanedawg, you said you bought it 3 weeks ago. What
Yes.
are your feelings, without going into too much detail, on Helldivers 2 as a playing experience?
It caught me off guard big time. It has been a brave while since I wanted to engage in an online shooter, a multiplayer, anything really. I dipped my toe into Warzone about a year or two ago, and I'm just like, this isn't COD that I remember. I don't. I felt like it's just just respawning, dropping in. It didn't mesh with my expectations. I was like, this didn't go for me. But something about this, just the more you guys and like other gaming channels that I respect talked about this game and how addictive it was, and how engaging it was, and I just it looked fun and it looked sort of tongue in cheek, and I thought, okay, whatever. So and not for nothing in this day and age, it's a decently priced game.
Oh, it's a bargain, yeah.
It's
35.
like, yeah, they could, it could be free to play the way it's like formatted, but it's decently priced. You're not breaking the bank. So I thought, I'm of some of my friend groups, I'm the only guy with a PS5. So I thought, okay, I'll get the game everyone's talking about. I'll have the guys over for like a games night. One of my mates brought a projector around, so we just had that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I do. It was so much fun, but it was really fun watching the guys just get into it and like employing the stratagems, the whole tongue in cheekness of it all. It's a lot of fun, and then it's been what I've been missing. I'm such an RPG head. I'm so into stories and long form storytelling, like side quests, engaging characters, all of that. But sometimes I just want to play a game for like 20 to 35 minutes, and it can just be I'm going to take my anger out on digital people, or whatever, or in this case bugs or robots from the depths of hell.
Yes.
Because God, why do those robots have chainsaw hands? What did they do?
They're lumberjacks.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So-
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
that's what it is. Why do they have farms? Some of the planets have farms, and they're populated by the robots. Why are the robots farming? What are they going to do?
They're farm hands, mate.
They're
Slavery got abolished, so we use robots in the future in Super Earth.
the distant future.
What about you, Tomahawk? What's your
Just I kind of knew as we were getting closer and closer to release on this, when they actually started to release the gameplay on it, I thought, okay, I could do a live service game now. I'm quite we have a good L community that we knew everyone was going to kind of jump in at one stage or another. Immediately when that tutorial kind of pegs you and just goes, right, here's the mechanics, here's how to be a Helldiver. I am also the greatest Helldiver there ever was, and I'm not very easily impressed.
The real deal.
Go crawl under this. It's like, go crawl under this barbed wire. You crawl under. He's like, my God, what a piece of athleticism this is. You are the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
I think that tutorial mission, I was so blown away just how funny it was, and how I didn't expect it to be as tongue in cheek.
Getting shot to pieces in that tutorial was hilarious.
Exactly. Even when you get your cape at the end,
the
it's
dive.
like
Oh
so
yes.
basic. Oh, it was a good laugh. Like even there was something I saw on Instagram as well. It was like the game is so tongue in cheek that that billboard when you're dropped in, it says "See you on the other side," and in this video, the player goes to the other side of the billboard, and there's a smaller version of that same poster that just says "See you on the other side" again.
I didn't even notice that. That's great.
So the game is from the get go, from that tutorial mission, is just it gives you everything you need to know how to play the game. It doesn't like talk down as a player base, and then basically you just get your cape and you're straight into your lobby essentially, and you're just told to crack on, be part
Get
of the
cape,
war
wear
effort.
cape, shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to parrot everything you've said. Like, I don't know what I expected from it. I think the gameplay sort of footage. I think I said to you, Tom. Actually, it might have been you. About how it kind of reminded me of Monster Hunter style. It looks like a Monster Hunter game, and I was like, I got big into Monster Hunter late last year, and I was like, yeah, I could go for a Monster Hunter with big guns. So let's do that. But yeah, it's so much more than the sum of its parts. There's not much to this game. Usually in
It's
these
basic when it comes to mechanics and controls and the premise overall, but
yeah, usually when we do these sort of deep dives of games, we go through the story and we do this, we do that, we do the other. There's not much story here. The story is basically Super Earth is under attack
Well.
from encroaching forces from both sides of the universe. You have the automatons coming from the west, and you have the Terminids coming from the
The
east.
scourge of democracy.
The scourge of democracy. They have been attacking Super Earth, and Super Earth have to retaliate in order
That's right.
to keep the peace of the planet. Or at least that's what the higher ups want you to believe. That is the
Ministry of
story.
Truth. Yeah.
The Ministry of Truth have spoken. Therefore, he who controls the present controls the past. He who controls the past controls the future. And that's exactly what it is. So it is our jobs as hell divers to go to these planets and help keep democracy, help spread democracy, and help stop the threat of both of these alien factions. And we literally drop onto planets in our hell pods, and we give our lives for Super Earth.
We
And
sure do.
that is the story. There's
That's
no more really to it than that. There are little nuggets of lore here, there, and everywhere. A lot of the stuff. Every planet is inhabited with like little outposts and things like that. You can read little signs, little posters, little communication tablets, and things like that. And they'll give you like a little snippet of deeper lore that the Ministry of Truth are not telling us.
That's it. Even in the likes of the lobbies as well, when you're on the ship, you can hear news reports about, I think more recently as well, as like the automatons in Cyberstan, and you can hear the news
Peace
reports
talks with
about the
Cyberstan have stalled.
exactly, yes, exactly that. And it's nice. You get to be drip fed stuff, and it's as much as you want to pay attention to it. You don't have to. Like, it doesn't actually achieve anything. You're not really getting anything. I think it mainly comes through like your major orders or anything that come from Super Earth that drive the war effort is kind of the main plot points, we'll say in quotations.
It's just, it is funny because it's not really a game that you can talk about with spoiler warnings because there's not much to spoil. Like whenever I completed the tutorial and then you're just online, that really caught me off guard. I'm again, it's been a while since I played an online shooter. I'm so used to some like bare bones single player campaign just to get used to the mechanics, and it's not even that. It's just no go to a planet, start shooting. But I did like the gradual upscale that you get. Like you survive one mission on a planet, you've unlocked the next difficulty, and then the next difficulty, and the next difficulty, and then you just progress as you see fit. That's fantastic. And you're right. Like there's no Star Wars esque like prologue. There's no like text on the screen telling you, oh, the state of Super Earth. It's just there's information about. If you just keep your ears out, there are, what is it? There's like treasonous like intermissions, like that you've
illegal
got
broadcast.
illegal broadcasts. That's it, that you've got to shut down, which is just former Helldivers being like, they're just bugs.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't care about democracy.
Yeah, the illegal broadcasts, you can listen to them, and they do. I think the generally accepted truth of Helldiver lore is that the Terminids are planted on these planets to be farmed for their gas that they emit from the planet. But they reproduce far too fast, and that's what has caused the infestation. They have been planted on these planets by the Ministry of Truth, and they have lost control of everything, and now they have to hide their mistake by saying that they have declared war because the bugs have declared war on humankind.
Or do they just hate democracy?
Yes,
That's it.
I think it's that. I mean,
Yeah, it's got to be that.
has to be. I've never met a bug that liked democracy. That's all I'm saying.
It's true.
With regards, it is really good. It's a perfect sort of fusion between in-game narrative and almost like the talk around Twitter and social media, especially from the official channels, it's almost like an ARPG where the official Helldivers Twitter account is the Ministry of Truth. And they do put out all these like little snippets of information, and it is almost like the game just spills. The game's narrative is way bigger than just the game now. You have the community making up their own storylines, their own stories, and you have the Ministry of Truth sort of leaking new details in a really unique way, of like propaganda posters and like censored videos of flying bugs. And the official message from the Twitter account is that this is propaganda. Bugs do
Yeah.
not fly. We have never seen
Yeah.
a flying species of bugs anywhere else in
Yes.
the universe.
I think it's good though when you get something like even the CEO of Arrowhead was getting involved. He was replying to tweets going, "Look, flying bugs, that's very undemocratic, and that looks like bug sympathizers posting fake news. Don't believe the lies." I think like it's when a game kind of evolves beyond the confines of that 70
Yeah.
gig install
Mhm.
and the fan service. I think the fan service alone and the fan generated buzz, it just
Yes.
takes that game to a whole new level as well. It's just funny as you say, but like even we're talking about the community of the game. I think to battle potential toxicity and stuff, I've seen other players on like Reddit forums who are
Mhm.
sharing gamer tags of people who are not playing the game as it's intended and are essentially they're putting
Enemies
out
of
kill orders.
enemies of democracy. I saw this.
Socialists.
I,
Socialist
I
soul.
s- I saw this. This man is an enemy of democracy. If you see
Okay.
him, kill him. It's something I forgot to mention. Friendly fire is on by default, and there
Yes.
is no way of turning it off.
It's
So
not a bug, it's a feature.
it's a
It is
feature.
completely a feature, and it's infuriating. But it's part. It's
Oh,
part
I
of the
think it's
charm.
so good. It's
It's
so
it
good.
like it's what separates it from like every other shooter on the market.
Yeah.
It's you once you're on that planet, it is chaos. If
Yeah.
like if you aren't killed by one of the enemy automatons or terminids, there's a possibility that you'll get killed in a drone strike that one of your teammates calls in and doesn't realize you're there.
Yeah, and that's it. But it's one of those games where we're all guilty of killing our teammates by accident. But it's one of
Yes.
those ones where usually in a video game that would be extremely frustrating. You know,
Mm.
why'd you do that? Why'd you not tell us? In this game, it's just funny because when you
Yeah.
get killed by like an eagle or a strike or whatever, the ragdoll physics kick in, and you get these very cinematic shots of your body getting pinged across the planet. It is super super funny. It is frustrating though when you get
Mm.
those players just as you're about to extract
Mm.
that drop an eagle on top of the escape ship
Pelican,
or
yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Can you wait? Can you blow up the pelican?
No, but you are not.
Oh.
You are not invincible inside the pelican.
Oh.
You can still be killed until it takes off.
Damn. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the
Wow.
fan base at the minute. There's a group of people who like they'll put a big heavy duty stratagem
Yeah.
on the Pelican as everyone's about to take off, and they
What
try
the
and
hell?
time it at 0 for when the shuttle takes off, and it
That
can
is
go
playing with fire.
comically wrong. I have been on the receiving end of
Mhm.
several. I think a 500 kg nuke was landed on the Pelican, and it wiped us all out.
Yeah. You're only invincible when the cutscene kicks in. Up until that point, no, you're completely vulnerable. You can be killed by a bug. You can be killed by stratagems. You can be killed by other players dropping grenades as they enter the pelican, which has happened to me on more than one
What?
occasion. Yeah. Someone just
Just
wings a grenade
mayhem.
in.
Oh, amazing.
But yes, it is. It is such a great game. It is easily. I've only played this the only new release in 24. I have played, but it is definitely my favorite game of 2024 thus
Yeah.
far. But
Mm.
I think we need to get deep dive into exactly what this game is, what makes it so unique, and what makes it so good. So I think we should get in there now.
Sweet liberty! No!
So yeah, what is Helldivers? I've used the term games as a service there a number of occasions, and I realize that
Mm.
people may not know actually what a game as a service is. So, a game as a service is a game that is released as version 1.0, and the developers will create a roadmap and give it support over a undefined period of time. If it is a successful game as a service like Fortnite, it will go for what's Fortnite now? 7 years and counting.
Damn.
And if it's not a very successful one, like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, it will be dead in 3 months. Helldivers 2 falls under the former. It is a very, very, very successful, thus far, games as a service. So as I said, it's Sony's one. One thing that has blown me away, even 3 months on, and it is a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things, is the sheer amount of support that Arrowhead and Sony have been putting into this game. It is frightening the amount of content that's been put into this game. So basically, as of time of recording, we've had buffs to certain guns. We have had nerfs to other guns, other stratagems, other supplementary equipment like the bubble shield and stuff like that has all been nerfed somewhat. They have buffed damage of the Terminids. They have then nerfed that damage back down to slightly higher than what it was originally, but lower than what they nerfed it to. They have nerfed the spawn rate and stuff like that. They've done so much. They've added new weapons. They've added enemy types. They've added new bosses. They've added new stratagems.
Yeah.
The big thing that always sticks out in my head, and one of the most genius things of what has been added post launch, is the environmental effects and the environmental hazards. So initially the game had fog, and that was the only environmental hazard that there was. And fog basically just lowers your how far you can see.
Yeah,
Your
your
field of
scope
view
for
Your
is-
visibility.
Your visibility and field of view get really narrowed with fog. Since release, they have added meteor showers.
There's
They have
the
added
dreaded
rain,
fire tornadoes as
the
well.
fire tornadoes.
can get done.
Yes, they can. It's just one thing that blows me away about this game is just how much has been added to it, how much balancing they have been done. And let's be honest here, this is a PvE game as a service. There is no PvP at all.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff they're doing is strictly for challenge in the higher levels and fun in the lower levels. Balance really isn't that important here, but Arrowhead seemingly have got grander plans for this game. I don't know what they have further down the line, but clearly balance and the output of both player and enemy types seems to be a big sticking point for them. They
Yeah.
seem to be tweaking it every other week. It would
No,
seem.
no, that's it. I said, I think on an earlier episode of the main body of the podcast as well, that if they play this right with their balance and with their updates, with everything that they're kind of doing in the background, this will be a game that they will never ever need to, like, not in the immediate future, will never need to release a Helldivers 3. This game
Yeah.
could outlast most live service games,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah, I think Arrowhead have got themselves in a nice position where if they ever do want a Helldivers 3, then they have this game has given them such a solid base to negotiate one heck of a budget for 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning, like as you say, it's PVE, which for the success that it has to be some sort of anomaly, surely.
There's not many of them. Monster Hunter is the other big PvE sort of game as a service that I can think of. I'm sure they exist. I know when Fortnite was announced, it was a game as a service and it was PvE. You might remember the original idea for Fortnite was you build a base during the day
Yeah.
and at night it would get attacked by zombies and stuff like that. That was the original idea. That mode still exists. I think it's called Save the World, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, once Player Unknown came out, then they pivoted it to the Battle Royale that we all know and tolerate. And Sherry buys the premium skins on. But yeah, it's the only other big one I can think of is Monster Hunter. I don't know if Monster Hunter would technically class as a game as a service. It's a game that gets support undoubtedly, and DLC, but they're not massively long life for support from Capcom. Really, I know Rise is what 2 years old now. It's not getting any more content. So I don't know if that would classify, but it is Monster Hunter in design, really. Basically, the gameplay loop is we have levels of the galaxy. So the galaxy map is top down, like it was in the original. Concentric circles. Every sort of segment of that circle has planets, and it's our job as Helldivers to 100% liberate those planets from the enemy threat. Every now and again, we will get what's called a major order, and a major order is like kind of borrowed from the MMO sort of world. It's the player events, and
Yeah.
the major orders will come directly from the Ministry of Truth, and it will be along the lines of, I think the one that has just finished was 2 planets under attack at the same time. We only have the time and resources to save one of them, and they told us what the reward will be for
That's
liberating
right. Yes,
each
it was a
planet.
race. It was essentially a race to see what the
Hmm.
player base could complete first. I think one was a support stratagem, and
Yes,
one was a new weapon.
and a
So I
new
think
weaponized. Yeah.
everyone opted for the new weapon. I think it was actually quite close in terms of the planet liberation. I think they
Hmm.
did it within a couple of hours of each other. But I think the main reward from that one, everyone got a new air burst rocket launcher,
Yes, I think that was it. I'm
which is very good, by the way.
I'm kind of
Oh.
disappointed because the other stratagem was a mobile fortification, which was so it
Oh,
was. So
I would have wanted that.
me
Yeah.
too. I think that would come in really handy for the automatons. Just
It
Yes.
might
something.
very well be something that they'll bring in as like a level feature as well, because it's why offer it if they're just gonna disappear
I
forever
mean,
from the
Mm.
coding or whatever. Yeah.
which is a beautiful segue into into what I want to talk about next. And what I want to talk about next is everyone listening to this who has not yet played Helldivers 2 is thinking it's a game as a service. They are financially exploitative and they will obviously want money for a lot of things. And whilst there is a season pass, which is called, what are they called in this game? Premium War Bonds.
Mm.
It is not predatory in the slightest. So the premium war bonds, I think, are currently $8.99 in pounds, $9.99.
9.99. Yeah, yeah.
So they are. So what do you get for your money in there? Well, you get a load of weapons. You get weapons. You get some super credits. You get
Armor,
cosmetics,
emotes.
armor,
Yeah.
emotes.
Yeah.
The thing about the premium war bonds that makes it different from literally every other game as a service out there is that the premium war bonds, once they get introduced, they are not timed, and they will never disappear. They will always be available. Um, Other things that they do is that they take away that element of FOMO that other games as a service sort of live and breathe on.
Mm.
You don't have to buy the full thing either. If you want, you can put in, you can use super credits. So you can buy
Yeah.
super credits, and you can buy the item that you want from those war bonds or the 2 items you may want. Super credits again a really reasonable price. I think they start like £1.49, and they work their way up to
It's
about
something
nineteen
like
ninety
that. It's
nine.
Yeah, and then but the thing is though, like the way that the levels are set up in each mission and stuff as well, you're rewarded with super credits and you can pick them up along the map anyway. So if you have a bit of patience and are willing to stick with a loadout for a longish time, you could just bank out. I think it's 1,000 super credits
Mm.
to
Yeah.
open up a war bond, and then it
Yes.
just opens up a new inventory tree of weapons, buffs, and armor
And
classes and stuff as
cosmetics
well.
and
So
stuff. There's a whole load of
yeah,
stuff in them. No, there's nothing in it. I have never seen anything in a premium war bond that I went, I desperately want that. They've
Mm.
balanced them really well. So there is premium war bonds and there are just general war bonds. As you say, Tomahawk, you can pick up super credits in the game world, and you can
Yes.
buy super credits with medals in the free war bonds as well. It's really good. What I like about it the most is they know that they can't put some super weapon into the premium war bonds because that will break the game.
Yeah.
So it would. So they're really smart with what to put in. There's nothing game breaking. There's nothing that will fast track you through the difficulty levels either. It's really well balanced. It's really well poised. They've done a really really great job with it, and they've completely eradicated that FOMO, which is, I think, super important in a sort of game. The amount of times I've logged into like Fortnite or Fall Guys and went, I'll pick up that skin," and then you go to the shop and the skin is gone,
it's a timed event or whatever it is.
and
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Mm.
and they always come back, but when's it going to come back? This just doesn't do it. It's really non-predatory. I have been playing this game. I put this game day of release. I've put in about 15, 16 hours, I think, into it. I have never spent a penny other than the 34.99 I paid for the game, and I've never really I've never felt the need to spend money on it. I don't know about you two.
No.
No, I've done exactly the same thing. I saved all my super credits for a rainy day, and then
Mhm.
once I hit that 1,000 threshold, I was just like, treat yourself. Go for the explosive. There was a war bond that they released there quite recently. It was all a lot of explosive weaponry. So
Mhm.
I
Okay.
bought a new armor that allowed me for extra grenades. I bought a thermite grenade. I
Nice.
gone through the levels. I just want to get the crossbow pistol. That's what my next. That's literally the only reason I got that
Okay.
war bond for, was to get the
Cool.
explosive crossbow.
Love it. Love it. What about you, Blanedawg? Have you spent any money on it? No.
No, zero. Like you said, it doesn't motivate you. There's no like play to win sort of cash grab super weapon or like extra rare armor with an extra 500 XP or something, anything like that.
Mhm.
It's very much
It's
just, you can traverse, you can play through it, you can unlock things as you go. Um, you can spend your money, you can, as you say, you can get super credits. Like it's there, you have the option,
mhm.
but the game is not making you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's the joy of the grind as well. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the player base are. You get some of the ones who maybe got the Super Earth edition when it came out, and that gave you the big horned
Helmet.
helmets and stuff like that.
Yes.
But I think the player base for the majority of it are happy enough to kind of get their loadouts pretty early on, and then most player bases, myself included, tend to stick with the loadout that they have
Yeah.
once they find one that is nicely balanced, and then kind of just would build to something new rather than just pay to win, basically.
Yeah. 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 That's what's great about it. I think you do see most of your weapon progression and equipment progression is it's almost separate from the war bond sort of system. You
Hmm.
obviously the free war bonds is where you get your weapons from, but everything else is dealt with completely separately. So stratagems and stuff are completely separate from the war bond system. So
Yeah.
you don't if you don't want to, there's really nothing stopping you from never engaging with like the war bond sort of aspect of the game, the paid element in
Yeah.
essence. It's not. I can't think of a single time a game like this has went. Do you want to know what? If you don't want to spend money, you don't have to.
No,
It,
it's refreshing.
Exactly.
Like
it
you hypothetically, you could just have the same two or three stratagems the whole way
yeah.
through the game if you want. The game
Hmm.
does not make you upgrade to get the drone or like a mech
No,
tank or
but
anything like that.
that being said, the game will suggest that certain levels and certain topographies will call for certain stratagems to be used. So it does lean
That's
you,
fair.
but it's not by any means compulsory, which
No.
it'll guide you in which the best loadouts are, especially with say, I think there was one particular game that I had where everyone but myself had the orbital laser.
Hmm.
Right.
Now what you can't do is call in 3 orbital lasers because they all share the same cooldown time
Hmm.
Oh.
as a quartet. So if one person has it, you're waiting for the next cooldown for them to jump in and get it. So it doesn't, yeah, it's a fine balancing act when it comes to the stratagems and everything in between.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing about it. They don't strong arm you into like spending a lot of money. What they do is they let the game sort of sell you things that you may want in the future by obviously your teammates will have different things like where'd you get that? It's this stratagem, and then you go into your ship's menu and you see it there, and it tells you exactly how many samples you need or how many
Mm.
medals you need if you're going to use the war bonds, and it just sort of lets you organically want things. It's
Mm.
actually quite funny because it's one of those games where if I saw something in a premium war bond that I really really wanted, I would spend the money and I would buy it, and I wouldn't begrudge the money either because the game is so relaxed with its monetization. It's like, yeah, if you want it,
Mm.
you can pay for it, but yeah, there's no pressure here, and I like that. It's really refreshing. It's really
But isn't
refreshing.
it isn't it isn't it better and sort of more evocative to see
Hmm.
somebody else using that stratagem or that gun like in mission and be like, oh my god, what's this called? Okay, I have to get this,
Exactly.
and then you go
Yeah,
back to the ship and then you see what level I have to be at, how many credits I need, and then it gives you something to work towards. That's whatever. The first time I saw the jetpack, like
Yep.
I've already got my Helldiver looking as much like Boba Fett as I can get him. And then they introduce a jetpack. I'm like, well, okay, that's going to have to be the next thing. And the jetpack is great. It's a great feature.
is.
It's not. It's very much just I need to get out of this corner and I have 5 seconds to do it. And then there's a cooldown. It's not just and now you can it does nothing for traversal. It doesn't make you go across the map faster. It is very much just
Gets you out of a tight spot, yeah.
Exactly. There's a charger and you're cornered. Flip. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think like that's the way to go. And there's a community aspect to it. It's not just you don't just see a trailer or you see. So the game doesn't push these upgrades or things on you. You get to see them in game. You get to see how they're utilized, and then you decide, actually, that looks pretty cool. Where can I get that? You go back to your ship, you find it, you work towards it.
Now, Blaney, I think you probably haven't had the game long enough to have been aware of this, but Luvva, you definitely have. Do you remember whenever the game basically put out and said, the automatons have taken over this planet. It's halted production on the Exo Patriot.
Yes.
There's the next major order is go liberate this planet. So what had happened previously, there was people reporting in the game that the exosuits had been dropped into their map and they were able to walk around and shoot machine guns and rockets and stuff from an armored mech. That then disappeared because the Ministry of Truth, Twitter, X, whatever it was, came out and said, nope, the planet's been taken over by automatons. We now have to go and liberate it because production's been halted. As a reward for claiming that planet back, for the long weekend or whatever it was at the time, every player got a free stratagem of the exosuit.
Yeah.
And then they eventually put it behind.
It's behind your ship module.
Yeah, so you had to get to I think it's level 25 would unlock it as a mission stratagem. Yeah. But, the game rewards you and rewards the sort of effort by the players by giving you wee bits and pieces like that as well.
Yeah. They've done that a number of times. So they have. This is what I love about it, especially the Twitter account. This is what I love about it, is they are purposely inserting future features into like a small percentage of player sort of instances, and then they know that we are all looking out for new stuff, and once we see it, we're going to hit that share button on the PlayStation and we're going to throw it on the Twitter, and then they'll come out and go, no, these are automaton sympathizers, they are enemies of democracy, this is totally not true. And then a couple of days later there's this major order that just happens to coincide with this leak. So they are self-leaking this stuff. It is brilliant viral marketing, and
Yes.
they have just got it down to a T, and the way they are selling it is completely in game. They are in character all the time. So they are. I've seen people on Twitter try to message the Helldivers too with like technical issues, and they just respond with like in word replies such as, it sounds like you it sounds like you're an enemy of democracy. We don't want your type, and in super F and things like that. It's just sheer brilliance.
It's just
so
like, mate, I'm just lagging. Help me.
help.
I did see that. I think they got in trouble a little bit for that. They were told to tone it down ever so slightly. I think they realized that some of the player base are a little bit sensitive.
Imagine reporting that to Ofcom. Just like, I was trying to get in touch with this game developer because the game kept lagging. I was having server issues, and they called me a socialist or whatever the hell.
It's amazing.
I think it is a testament to the live team and everything that goes on. But I think we need to carve out a couple of minutes. Can we talk about Joel?
We have to talk about Joel.
Can we push Joel back for a couple of seconds? Because just during that conversation, I realized we've been talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about medals, we're talking about samples, we're talking about credits and all this here sort of stuff. I think we need to explain what the progression is, and then we'll come back to Joel, if that makes sense. Right.
Okay.
So progression, game as a service, online game. They've split progression over a load of different resources in the game. The first one is medals. You get medals for doing missions, for doing secondary missions, for doing primary missions. You can also get like a medal bonus for your whole team extracting at the end of the mission.
Mm.
They're used to buy items in free war bonds. So that's the only use for medals, if memory serves me correct, Tom. I don't think they're
Yeah,
used for anything else.
you
No.
purchase your capes, your armor, your weapons,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so medals are only used for free war bonds. Then in game, in the game world, you can pick up samples. Now, samples are used to upgrade your ship's modules to get you more stratagems, more weapons, and things like that.
Is that what they are? Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
so it like you can deck out your ship hangar and it'll bring your cool time down by like 10-15% every time
Awesome.
you upgrade it. So
Yeah,
or it'll allow for just buffed stats or something, or a lot like
Yeah,
longer
I
duration
just
times,
assumed it
that
was
sort of
like
thing.
a side mission. Just it would
yeah.
just equal more XP or something.
No, samples are I would say samples are the primary sort of progression currency in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the first thing. Anytime a Helldiver falls, it's the first thing everyone, they're
Where's the
like
samples?
Every
vultures.
single
Everyone
time.
calls in for the samples. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So there's 3 different types of samples, and they're all got different values in the game. So you pick up a sample. If you extract with that sample still in your inventory, then it will get converted into like a value at the end of every round. So the 3 samples are common samples, rare samples, and then super samples. So super samples are locked behind difficulty. I don't think you can get any super samples until you get to suicide mission difficulty and
Ooh.
above.
Yeah.
So the samples are probably the primary sort of progression sort of currency. And then of course you have player level. So correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. Level cap is now 150.
150 as of like the last patch, which would have been about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. So yeah, level cap 150. Level caps unlock different stratagems, they unlock different ship modules, they unlock a whole load of different stuff. Probably the most important thing that they unlock is your rank. And the ranking system goes from cadet to super private. Or if you bought the Super Earth Edition, then you can get the title of Super Citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we armor perks that come with each of those ranks. So that is the progression style. You need all 3 really if you want to get new weapons, new stratagems, and all that sort of good stuff. But yes, whew,
You're
with all
missing
that,
Space Cadet, my favorite rank. I upgraded to Sergeant, but prior to that, I was Space Cadet because why couldn't you just be Space Cadet for life?
I mean,
Who wouldn't want that
some would argue Space Cadet is the best rank you could ever achieve in life.
in this life for sure, 100%. Never mind Helldivers.
But now that we've talked about what a game as a service is, how you progress through the game as a service, let's talk about the gameplay itself. And we can't talk about gameplay without talking about Joel. So, basic gameplay of this game is drop to the planet, do your missions. So, the missions can be a lot of different stuff. Some of them are terminate a number of enemies, some of them are extract scientists from the planet. Other things are just destroy the illegal broadcasts, destroy enemy outposts or fabricators in the automatons. But everything in the game is being controlled by an intergalactic dungeon master who
Yes.
goes by the name of Joel. So let's talk about Joel.
He's apparently watching every game in real time and is tweaking the.
He's the architect in the Matrix.
But this is it. Like, from what
Just
you
a
were
big
reading
wall
at
of
the start,
screens.
him and his team were like watching games like in real time at a 400k player base at the time, and would just tweak player drops or bug spawns or robot drops or anything like that. So the man is on a mission to create at the higher difficulties a punishing experience.
Yes. Even on the lower difficulties, if we cast our minds back to Malevolent Creek, Space Vietnam, we
We'll
all
take a
visited
minute
it.
we'll take a minute to mourn for Malevolent Creek.
God damn.
We all went to that mission, which was, well, the one mission that sticks out in my head was get 30 scientists out of the creek. I think I lasted about 3 minutes before I ran out of respawns, and this was in a team of 4. It was relentless automaton hell. It was brutally. It was
Oh, it was
awful.
awful. It was awful. I think that was before the big sort of nerf of everything and
Yeah.
a major
Mhm.
rebalance. But I think that I think at the time that game needed a big major order to go, because I think that there was at the time a major player base were kind of only fighting bugs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
I think they wanted something that was going to push the player base to a bit of
Yeah.
an even split, really.
Mm-hmm.
And Malevolent Creek was one hell of a way to do it.
It was mad. I just remember when Malevolent Creek fell, and it was just all over Twitter. We've lost Malevolent Creek, and just all these memes, all these like propaganda posters were going up. Where were you when Malevolent Creek needed you? And things like this. It was just I've never known anything like that
The
in a video
fan
game.
engagement and like the
Oh,
viral memes and the
fantastic
TikToks and
stuff.
stuff are just it's marketing itself. Like
Yeah.
that was one of the things that sold me on this game. Just how much it was appearing on my algorithm and telling me like, no, this is
Yeah.
why you should give a damn. Like it's amazing. Like they're spotting. There's rumors of a third faction appearing just because
Mm-hmm.
some players have seen lights in the sky on some maps, or you know,
The stuff that they
this
can drip
crazy
in
stuff.
and like get people thinking. It might not necessarily be true, but people are gonna spout their own conspiracy theories about it anyway. But just on the topic of Joel, he has been known to drop into player lobbies, player games,
I've seen
call
this.
in a beta testing a stratagem, and then it'll just go. Joel has left. Joel has gone back to civilian life, and then he'll drop in a 4-person armored vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and people are reporting this on Twitter, and obviously the Super Earth government are denying all
Obviously.
forms of its existence. And
Yeah.
but then it starts to creep up in the maps where you'll start to see blown up exosuits or blown up armored carriers and stuff. So it drops out little nuggets of
Yeah.
foreshadowing, little bits of information in
The
the environment as well.
the
Mm.
APCs are definitely real because the original Helldivers had APCs. So they did it 100%. That
It's
is
a
real.
narrative that we get to follow in real time.
That is
It's
real.
amazing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom,
Okay.
but the whole Joel thing, didn't that come about at the fall of Malevolent Creek? Wasn't there the um, binary message that was sent out in one of the illegal broadcasts, and it was like, "Where is Joel?"
Something like that. Yeah, it came up as a
What?
random. Some person figured it out, and just that's where Twitter blew up, basically. But yeah, I think Arrowhead did confirm that Joel is like the DM essentially
I
for
love this so much. I love
this
this.
game and for the servers and everything.
Joel
But
saw the fall of Malevolent Creek and went, "No more."
him and his team are just I like the attention that they're paying to.
Yeah.
What are we on now? About 400,000-500,000 players.
Oh yeah.
More at the if you like
I
take
think it
PC into account as well.
I think it peaked at 485. I think
Mhm.
on Steam. So whatever. I think it was 60-40 split between PC and PlayStation. So you're probably talking about 600,000 or 700,000 at the same time.
Like they're not watching every single game, definitely not, but
No.
they're doing some amount of coverage if they're able to have as much of an impact on the player base, really.
They are definitely paying attention to what players are doing, because once a planet gets pretty high up on the sort of liberation, they do tend to you do tend to get a lot more like drop ships with the automatons, or you do tend to get a lot more nests of the terminids.
Yeah.
They are paying attention, and they do kind of. I, I think Malevolent Creek, when it fell, it was recaptured 100% liberated in 2 days after. I think it was 2 or 3 days later. So they are paying attention, and they are tweaking things just to keep like the ebb and flow of just this endless war going.
Yeah.
And it just keeps you coming back for more. I have played a game, but I haven't played a game this sort of aggressively addictive for a very long time. Like for the longest time, when I wasn't playing Helldivers 2, I was thinking about playing Helldivers 2,
Exactly, yeah.
and it's crazy. Even now we're talking about it. I want to play
Like we talk
Helldivers
about the
2.
Yeah.
FOMO aspect, and like there's a lot of the stuff that they've taken away from the FOMO, like the pay to play and that kind of stuff. But then also, Major Order came in, and it was basically the eradicate the automatons,
Hmm.
and that was it. That was the Major Order, and then within a day, 2 days tops,
I
Yeah.
remember this.
everything. There was no. I remember even seeing on Twitter, it was the guy. He was one of the last players in the automaton lobbies, and he had this rifle scope shot of the what he called the last automaton.
Yeah.
But then they were like, somehow it's just that was just the vanguard, and then they brought in a new wave of automaton enemies, and
'Cause
they've pretty much swamped the map.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that they had 5 days to do it? Or no,
Mm.
2 days to do it, and they did it in 14 hours.
Yeah.
That's it. Like with the player base, it shows that like there's very little to no toxicity in the game when a player base, when like a complete player base can come together and do stuff that they're predicted is going to take 10 times as long. They're doing it in 10 times less the time.
Yeah.
There was another one as well that came up quite recently. It was, I think they wanted to draw everyone away from the robots and go back to the bugs, where it was kill 2 billion Terminids, and we'll give you 5 days to do it. And it was done in 7 hours.
Yeah. it's just insanity with just how all these sort of like different elements of a video game just come together to create like it is way bigger than a video game now. It's not just Helldivers 2 the game, it's Helldivers 2 the movement.
It is a
That's
movement.
it.
We are
It's
legion.
even like, it's one of those games that I'm sitting playing at home, and then Mrs. Tomahawk will like look at the TV. Just as I boot it up, I always watch the message from Super Earth, and it's that part where the Terminid sort of just devours the wife and child.
Yes.
And then he goes on his hands and knees and is like, no. And then it freeze frames. And then she just looked at me and went, what are you playing? But then sat and watched the whole thing of like, go and fight for freedom and go see some exotic animals. And she's like, I have to leave, because if I don't, I'll sit and watch you play it for hours.
It is very good. It is so
It's engaging. It is quite engaging even
really
for the
is.
non-player. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you said at the start, Blanedawg, about it is bite-sized. Like, every mission I think gives you about 40 minutes.
Yes.
That's the maximum time limit before you miss your last ferry out. But you can
Yes.
do them in 5-10 minutes, pick up a few things, and then just go again. It is for us lot. We're all dads.
The
If you just wanna-
part-time players. Yeah.
if you just want to
Yeah.
throw on 15 minutes, you can do it in Helldivers 2. You're never just playing for 15 minutes because you'll go, we'll do another one, we'll do another one, we'll
Oh,
do
yeah.
another one. But in theory, you could just
Yes.
have a quick 10-minute blast, get your dopamine hit, get your super credits, whatever it is you're after, and then leave the game and be perfectly satisfied by it. It's just everything else, the supplementary stuff, just have turned it into this unique, living, breathing organism of a game.
Yes.
And the FOMO does come from this amazing major order that comes out. Like, there's no risk of you missing on any of the rewards because every player gets the rewards. The amount of times I've logged into my Helldivers account and had like 4,000 or 5,000 medals just sitting there waiting for me because the major order was done. You don't miss
Nice.
any rewards.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just you miss the conversation about
I was under the
were
impression
you
that
there.
you are eligible for the the major order rewards if you at least did one mission.
If you play the game.
If you log on the game, yeah, then you're eligible for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's no fear of missing out on those rewards. There's none, which is great. So it is. I think we usually talk about games graphics, games sound, games gameplay. I think all we've talked about here is gameplay. What do you think of the graphics, Tom? Of
I
Helldivers?
think it's one of those ones that's quite unassuming. Like, I sit there and look at it every time I play. I go, this could be released on any console, really. It's not groundbreaking graphics, but I think it's like more for like the environmental stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where I think it kind of really sets apart because like everything's destructible. Even if you fire a stratagem into like an open plane of area, you will see craters form
Mhm.
from. I think it's more that kind of stuff that is the more impressive. But in terms of like the player design, the wind mechanics, that kind of ragdoll stuff, it's not groundbreaking by any sort of stretch, really. But it's still a gorgeous looking game. I think the more that they're going to add to it, the more it's going to improve, really. But I I don't want
Yeah.
to say bang average, but it's a pretty lovely looking game. But it's nothing graphically from anything we've seen the last couple of years, at least, anyway.
I mean, yes, it is no like it's not groundbreaking visually speaking, but what it does do, in my opinion, is it creates these well, they're semi-open worlds. They're all quite large. There is a lot going on in all of it. As you say, everything's destructible. Everything is destructible.
Oh my god! The first time I ran across a bush or something that exploded, I was like,
Yes.
"Was that a mine?" No, it wasn't. It was just an alien hedge that can
Yes, yes.
that can cause damage.
Yes, the amount of times I have dived behind a wall only for the wall to disappear behind me and then have to get up
Yes.
and do it again
Yeah.
is frightening. I don't think the game's not groundbreaking visually. What it does have, as I think you alluded to there, Tom, is the art design is incredibly strong with it. I think the color palette of the planets, the way they
Hmm.
do like the sort of like alpha particles of the fog, the smoke, a lot of the time there's very little downtime in Helldivers 2. You're constantly fighting something or you're constantly doing something. Um so you are, and at some points, especially in Malevolent Creek earlier on, you know, y- you could theoretically have four players calling down four different stratagems at the same time. Everything is visually in the game world. You know,
Hmm.
your drop ship is always above you in the sky. If you call a stratagem and look up, you'll see the stratagem come from it. It is a physical object in the world. You know, you could have 30, 40, 50 enemies on screen, grenades going off, stratagems going off, sort of there's just an awful lot going on in this game at all times. It is a real assault on your senses, but the
Hmm.
game never ever wavers in performance.
It's true.
No,
Yeah,
that's it.
I haven't
Everything
found
is pretty solid consistently throughout.
You can strain the game engine, especially if you're playing in quality mode. Do we all play in quality mode? Yeah.
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 So quality mode, I think, it's dynamic res. It runs somewhere between true 4K and about 1800p.
Hmm.
A target of 60. I think the biggest drop I've seen is minimal to say the least. You can whack it on performance. Performance locks it at 1080 and 60 and
Hmm.
it runs smooth as butter. But obviously graphical detail falls and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not the best looking game to start off with. When you drop it that much, you lose a little bit. But no, graphically wise, one of it's a game about the small touches, this game. You know, you
Hmm.
kill a bug, sometimes they'll just die, depending on where you kill them. Sometimes they'll just flop to the ground dead.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, you're just annihilating bullets anywhere you can into a bug, and it will
Hmm.
die, but it will go into death throws,
Yes,
and it's
which is
still
So
terrifying.
extra damage as
and
well.
they
Yeah.
are still dangerous in that death throw. Some of
Yes.
them, some of them explode. As I said, the alpha particles just look amazing on it. But it's just a game of like little touches. You know, you shit the ground, you do create a crater. Even individual bullets create craters and little dust clouds. My favorite little touch of this game is one that I always, when I'm playing it, always go. If you go to the window of your ship, you will see ships out your window. Every single one of those things is a real time player lobby. Every single one of
Yeah.
them,
That is really impressive.
and
Like as well, you're
you
actually living it in real
Yeah.
time as
yeah,
well.
and you can see them calling stratagems. Even when you're falling, you can see stratagems fall. You can see eagle runs go in. It is just the small touches in this game. It is a
Hmm.
game that you can tell on a lot of different levels that they truly, truly, truly love
Hmm.
this game world, and it shows just
Yeah.
everywhere you look. It is
No,
just
we're talking there just minutely there about like straining the engine of the game. There has been not many, but a few times where maybe reinforcement is called in. I may or may not have fallen through my hell pod through the map, and then not come out of my hell
What?
pod.
I'm glad. I'm glad you said this because this is not a perfect game. It does have rough edges.
Hmm.
We were playing together, Tom. You dropped your hell pod and get stuck under the map. That has happened me 2 or 3 times. Other one time I put it into the game. I think it was the last time me and you were playing. Where my gun was doing no damage,
Yeah.
and I had to drop my gun, pick it up again for it to register damage. It was doing nothing. I was like, my gun's not working.
It very rarely happens, but when it does, I think it's actually funny more than frustrating because the game
Yes.
for 99% of the time this game runs perfect, crystal smooth, everything. You'll occasionally get, because the reinforce is so broad an area,
Mhm.
sometimes for comedic effect you'll reinforce onto a bug, or you'll reinforce onto a
Mhm.
cliff and you can shoot down. Sometimes you reinforce in a place where the hell pod is not actually meant to go, and you will clip through the environment, and because you're not meant to go there, the hell pod will not open.
Oh
So
well.
the only way out of your
Throw a
hell pod
grenade.
sometimes is to throw a grenade and blow yourself to pieces.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I
it is.
did get hit the other day with that we can go from first to third person, and you can, depending on,
Mm,
I think it's R3 or something. Well,
yeah,
it locked me in first person. I couldn't get away from,
it's happened to me too. Yeah,
and my gun disappeared. So I was running around literally just with the finger on the trigger, but no gun.
that's never happened to me now. I've been stuck in first person view. I think it was when we were playing with Josh from Discount Pod. I get stuck in first person view. I would use first person view anyway when shooting. It's just more accurate. I just like the way it looks as well.
Yeah.
The sway is very, 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 very good indeed. It's just a great, great, great game. And there's very little. If you were to describe it to someone, what's that game about? It sounds like there's so little content to it. And I suppose if you look at it in large brush strokes, there is so little to it. You're just doing the same missions over and over and over again. But because it's so unique and so dynamic, and the a lot of the good stuff about Helldivers comes from player made content, or things that go wrong, or
Yeah.
things that go right if you're looking for
It's the
content for the internet.
interactions on those planets that
Yeah.
keeps you coming back. It's right. How am I going to survive this extraction? Is everyone going to make it to the ship? Who am I going to friendly fire today? Who's going to friendly fire me?
Mm.
What is Joel going to concoct this time around? There's so many. Even though the story, such as it is so, but like bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's almost like there's a player driven story being driven by the
Oh
other
yeah.
people in the lobby. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're crafting your own story, you're crafting
You're
your own narrative. You can just like little things from just you can go down and throw a snowball at a guy.
Oh
It's
yes,
nothing.
that's right.
It's
I
not.
forgot about snow.
It doesn't do anything. But it's a nice little touch.
It
You don't
it
get XP from it. It's nothing. But
it makes a great sound from the DualSense. When you get hit by a snowball,
Yeah.
it's just like a. It's a great sound, which is another thing we have to talk about. It's those little touches. The DualSense functions with this game, so
Mm.
good, so
Mm.
so good.
Oh, that
The
integration is excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, the triggers all feel completely different for every gun. I'm currently rocking a laser rifle,
Same.
and it's just that little gentle rumble, just from the hum of the laser,
Oh
obviously
yeah, yeah.
spinning inside. It's just a magnificent game. Speaking of sounds, speaking of sounds, the sound design of this game is incredible. It is incredible. The music when you are diving from your ship onto the planet's surface is right up there, with just, it's so cheesy sci-fi soundtrack, but it is right up there right now with with Star Wars music in my head.
That's it. It came so iconic overnight as well, and I think anyone who plays it, you know that that's Helldivers. There's very little, like in terms of there is very little variation of the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you get like a lobby version of it when you're on your ship. You get it when you land in, and then there's like the
fanfare when you do an objective.
when you eject. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all pretty much of the same couple of notes. Really, there's
yes.
very little variation in it, but it is such an iconic piece of music
It
in
is.
such a short space of time.
It is such a dopamine hit when you do you see objective complete, small outpost destroyed, and it's just like duh, 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 and it's like it's yes, we did it. It's one thing as well. I don't recall when you're in general gameplay, there is no music, right? It is just ambient sounds from the game world.
It'll be
I think
ambient
so.
sound until maybe a bug
A
hole
boss or
opens
whatever.
or a what do they
bot
call
drop.
it? A bot
Mhm.
drop or something like that. Yeah.
And
When you trigger,
the ambient sounds in this game are incredible. I have no idea what it's like on PC, but on PlayStation, the use of the 3D audio, I can't remember what Sony call it, they have a weird wee name for it, but is it Tempest audio, is so good. The amount of times we've just destroyed like an outpost of the automatons, and you can hear automatons talking. They would have like that weird voice,
that
modulated
garble.
voice, and it's basically just dead automatons in the ground, and their voice modulators are malfunctioning. They are effectively dying, and you can hear them die. And it's
That's
just
it.
like you can just hear everything. You can hear bugs crawl under the ground before they break out of their holes. The sound design is just so strong. When you go back to your ship after a mission, there is the big like TV above where you do your modules, and when you come back in, you can just hear the news breaking. They'll do like little news flashes of what the major order is, successes of the Helldivers in the past, and stuff like that. It's just an incredible game. It's just if anyone out there is making a game and want to know how you build a legitimately real feeling world, Helldivers 2 should be a case study in it, because your game world is the planets and your ship. You don't transition between the two in any meaningful way outside of cutscenes, but even though you only go into 2 or 3 different locations, it feels like a living, breathing like universe.
Yeah.
Bethesda could take a look at this and go, should we have done this with Starfield? Would it have resonated with people more? Probably.
I know,
You don't
absolutely.
need a 10 what maybe what was it, 10,000 planets, or No Man's Sky with billions and billions of planets. This has literally about 50 planets, and you don't have to fly to them. You literally go into hyperspace, drop down, kill things on it, and it feels way more engaging, way more real than either of those R2 games did.
Absolutely.
It is an absolute triumph of game design from top to bottom, this game. From top to bottom. Anything else we need to talk about with this one? It is just incredible.
Yeah, there's nothing else. We're just. I mean, we could keep gushing about it all night. I think
That's it. We could circle around and just keep talking about other bits and pieces. I do want to know actually one thing, and you have kind of alluded to it previously. What would you say your preferred loadout is? If we had to if we have to go primary, secondary, grenade type, and favorite support weapon, how would you? What would be your sort of go-to at the minute?
Okay, well, I haven't played it in a while. I'll give you the general loadout I'm using at the minute. So my primary weapon is the laser rifle with I guess it's called the recoilless rifle. My secondary is the like Mach 10 Uzis, which are highly destructive but will chew through a magazine in about a second. My grenade is just the enhanced frag, so I can't remember what it's called. It's just the slightly stronger version. It was in one of the free war bonds. My stratagems at the minute.
Oh yes.
my stratagems at the minute are jump pack
Mhm.
because they're great. I use the precision orbital strike. I use the if I'm fighting bugs, I will use the napalm eagle. If I'm fighting
Okay.
automatons, then I will use the cluster strike, and then I'll pick the support based on what everyone else has used.
Okay.
Whatever they have used, I
What
don't
about
use.
yourself, Blaney? Then what's sort of our go-to at the minute?
Oh, dude. So, same primary would be the laser rifle. As soon as I unlocked it, I'm like, this is great. The automatons take a bit more. Well, I don't know if they take more damage to it, but it seems to bother them a bit more.
Yeah.
Uh, Results may vary, sure. Second, I do not remember the name of my pistol. I think it might be the Uzi. That's fine. In terms of grenades, I've got an upgraded frag. I do not remember the specifics. Stratagems, I like to have the sniper rifle. What are they called? The anti-material
Oh,
rifle.
yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
I like to keep that on hand, because it's we're dealing with big maps, and this is a question actually. Do you think we're ever going to have any vehicles or something to that effect? Because
Oh,
traversal is
absolutely, yeah.
great,
Yeah.
but like it can take like I think there's a reason it's a 40-minute game. You know.
Yeah. We're definitely getting APCs. As
Vehicles
Tom
are
says
definitely gonna happen.
on
Like,
Twitter, there has been people saying, "Oh, there's a destroyed APC here." The original
Mhm.
Helldivers had 4-player APCs as well, where
Okay.
you one driver through the back. If memory serves me right,
Yeah.
there was a hole on top for a machine gun where one person could man the machine gun.
Good. Because
Don't
that's
quote
what's
me on
missing.
that.
I will quote you on that.
Okay,
This
cool.
is a recorded podcast. Okay, yeah, but yeah, we're missing like the warthog or whatever for Helldivers. And other stratagems would be, oh god, what is it? It's the eagle strike. God, it's like a strafing run. I can't remember the name of
That's
that.
what it's
Sorry.
called.
the
It's
Is it
called
the
a
eagle strike?
strafing
Yeah.
run. Mhm.
Oh, perfect. Okay, it's that. I just and then just the standard like assortment of the orbital strike or other things. Um, but yeah, is it what? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my go-to.
Yeah, you aren't too far off what I've been thinking as well. I actually, to be fair, I don't use the laser rifle at all. I haven't wavered from the default shotgun since I
Oh,
Really?
really?
started playing it. It doles out so much damage and already has like quite a heavy, it has quite a good armor penetration. So it's really
Mhm.
good for bugs and it's really good for the automatons as well. Again, I have the automatic pistol. I have an impact grenade, so
Okay, yeah.
they can clear out a lot of you know, groups of enemies in one go when you
Mhm.
do get the sort of multiplier bonuses and stuff as well.
Smaller bugs. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I have also not wavered from the autocannon the second I was able to unlock it,
Okay, yeah.
because it can kill a bile spewer in like 2 hits at the minute.
Love it.
Still is a bit not so great with chargers, but it is more of an angling issue on that one. And
Yes.
then my stratagems, because I'm ever so slightly a little bit of levels
Mhm.
ahead, is the 500 kg tactical nuke, the orbital laser, and the orbital barrage, the 3200 mil cannons.
Love it.
That is just, if you ever want devastation, there's a reason I think that stratagem says that team communication is key because it covers so much area, and the amount of people I'm watching, you call it in and they're in that fire zone and you can see them trying to run and zigzag out of it, and it's like, I'm so sorry.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Just before we leave it, then, I've got a question for you because this just popped in my head there just when you two were talking. I don't know why, because it's nothing to do with what you're talking about. This is the first game that I have played since like the early days of Xbox Live, where I've played through a couple of games or missions with certain people, and then I've went straight into the social tab and added them as friends. I haven't
Ah.
done that in like a decade, over a
Oh man.
decade. Have any of you done that? Like play with someone you've enjoyed playing with them so much and added them as friends inside Helldivers?
I haven't yet,
What
but I might because I do sort of
couple
miss that experience.
Mm,
There's been one or two examples. I think for the most part, if I'm not playing with like you guys, I'm playing with the
the
randoms,
randoms.
and sometimes I'll have the mic on, other times I won't. And if I find that one person's chatting, I will make the effort to chat back, and if they're good crack, I will give them a wee invite. But yeah, it's very much they have to initiate conversation first. I'm
Yeah.
the social anxiety for the most part is like, no, I'm here to kill bugs and do democracy. I don't have time to make friends.
Yeah, that's-
I haven't had too much of that in terms of like as you say, it's all business in the chat, not really. Even though the game is fun, nobody's really bantering. Um, on one occasion, on the occasion where I first played with my friends and I had my friends around, they were getting to grips and just chatting to other people, and I think one of my mates, Sean, friendly fired someone purely by accident, but then that guy had an axe to grind for the rest of the match, so was just that Sean couldn't get out of his hell pod
Pod.
safely at all. Like he was being hunted by this guy with a vendetta.
Oh no, that's it. We love it. We had a couple of good games with a few randoms.
Mm-hmm.
Fella, we did a couple of matches with him, and then he just went, right, that was a good warm up for me. I'm gonna go and do the no survival difficulty now, and then just disappeared, and we never
Disappeared.
saw him again.
No,
Wow.
no, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, it's just yeah, it's just because it's so community focused. I feel like if I play with someone who is particularly good or particularly good at playing in a team, yeah, I'll add. I've added quite a few people on my friends list inside the game,
Mm.
just based totally on playing with them in the game. It's just a great game for it. Speaking of which, if you've listened to this and you want to play with us, get yourself over to the Discord server. The link is in the description of this episode and every episode, or go to the website and you can get the link there as well. But yeah, if you want to play with any of us or anyone else in the High Scores, High Stakes community, get yourself over to the Discord channel because there's always someone playing Helldivers there. Always is. And I think the best way to finish this off then is, should we go Helldive?
Let's go Helldive.
Let's go
Let's go
Helldive.
hell dive,
Right.
boys.
We'll
Once
we'll
more into the
wrap
breach.
we'll wrap this up then. So, where can you find more High Scores, High Stakes on the internet? Direct your browser to highscoreshighstakes.com. There you'll find a whole load of articles, a whole load of posts. On the top, you'll see a whole load of link icons to all of our social medias. We are active everywhere on the internet, so make sure you do that. Blanedawg, where can the people find you? Because last time you were on, you said you wanted people to leave you alone. There has
Yes.
been some changes to that status,
Yes,
surely.
I am now a multimedia mogul. So you feel free to find me if you're so inclined. Okay, you can find me on Instagram at House of Blaine. I have my own podcast called the Please Explain podcast. Only on Spotify for now. Season 1 is completed. Season 2 coming later on this year, where it's a great time. We had Luvva Luvva on to discuss another passion project of his besides video games, that being Mr. Tom Cruise. Which is just that's the basis of my podcast. It's like I get my friends on and I ask them to talk to me about things, and that's it. That's all it is. I guess I should. My publisher will be annoyed if I don't say this. I've got a short story. It's going to be featured in an anthology in a book called Dragon Dreams by Storm Dragon Publishing. It's going to be out later on this year. I really cool guys. I found them on Instagram that they were looking for like an anthology tales, like short stories and novellas about dragons. And I'm like, I wrote a story about that has some dragons in it a couple of years ago. I wonder if they like it, and they did. And yeah, so that really over the moon about that. And so yeah, I'd keep an eye out for that if you don't mind,
Oh, that's awesome.
gents.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
guys. I told you, multimedia. This is me.
Multimedia mogul Blanedawg. Yes, I will put the link to Please Explain in the description as well. So if you want to check it out, do check it out. Some would say that the Tom Cruise episode is possibly the best Tom Cruise podcast content you'll find on the internet.
Some would.
I'm totally no skin in the game here. With all that being said, then I think the last thing to say then is prepare to dive.
Prepare to dive.
Yep. This has
Prepare
been
to
High
dive.
Scores, High Stakes Game of the Month Club. We'll see you next month.
Freedom!
Love you all. Bye.
Sweet liberty!